who is it, John Jones, that in your mind is like curious in that they were able to, with a full fridge and comfortable sheets, just keep fucking going?
But John Jones is exceptional because John Jones beat a lot of guys when he wasn't training. There was times in his life where he was fucking off and partying all the time and still beating the best guys in the world. That was like the when he had that press conference with Daniel Cormier. He goes, "I beat you when I was doing coke."
Coke, yeah. That's such an insult. What's a worse insult than that? Like, dude, I was high on fucking 8 balls and I beat your ass.
Well, John talked to me about it. He said, I used to, when I was younger, I used to give myself an excuse. So I would party really hard like a week before the fight, which you should never do. And it's like, well, if I lose, maybe it's because I partied. But he doesn't do that now. Now he thoroughly prepares. And he went through a time when he was the light heavyweight champion when he was kind of like playing with his food because he was just so much better than everybody else. He wasn't threatened by people, so he wasn't putting on the performances that he did when he was younger, like when he won the title against Shogun. He lost some of that motivation, but then gained it later in life when he went through a bunch of legal struggles, a lot of problems, and realized like this could all be taken away from me. I got to get back to what made me great. And then, won the heavyweight title, defended against the greatest and Stipe Miocic, and, now he's the heavyweight champion of the UFC.
What do you think?
He's been
how many years?
Won the title in what, like 2008? What year did John Jones win the title? Which is just
that's insane,
fucking crazy.
And he's 40.
No, he's in his
now?
30s. He's 36. He's the youngest ever champion in the UFC. He won the title at 22 years old. 2011. Okay. So he has been a world champion for 14 years. That is unheard of.
But so he has to be the greatest fighter in the history of the UFC, greater than George St. Pierre. I mean, right? Like,
I think on paper, for sure. I think the problem with that is, like, who did he fight versus who did George St. Pierre fight? Who did Khabib fight versus who did George St. Pierre? Like, it's like, who did Mighty Mouse fight versus...
Okay, but so according to that,
who did Anderson Silva fight?
Who do you put number one based on those metrics?
Well, out of just the sheer longevity and the accomplishments, I say John Jones. But I could see the argument for Mighty Mouse being the best martial artist I've ever seen. I think he's the best expression of martial arts talent and technique that I've ever seen. But then George St. Pierre's right up there too. And George St. Pierre was, multiple division world champion. He won the welterweight title, then he won the middleweight title. And then he came back after 4 years off and beat Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. Like he's in the argument too. I just think there's a real problem with saying the number one of all time, the greatest of all time. But if you were going to give it to somebody, I would say give it to John.
When you think about John and how he's been able to do it for this long and go through these highs and lows and fighting and doing blow, like that's fucking like.
Well, he's that talented.
I mean,
he was that good. He's an intelligent psychopath.
But what's in there? To what we're talking about. What's the, what's driving that motherfucker?
I don't know. You can't manufacture that. You either are that guy or you are not that guy.
So that's pure nature. That's like...
It's a lot of things. It's how he grew up. He has 2 savage brothers. Both of them are NFL players, superior athletes. They beat each other up all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's like you're in a competitive environment from the time you're young. You have incredible genetics on top of that. Then you go to a place like Jackson Winklejohn that is superior training with world-class sparring partners, world-class coaches, world-class recovery, training facilities, technique, strategy, all the above. It's like you need a perfect storm to be a real, true, all-time great.
Do you think that, because sometimes I think being fucked up can work to your advantage, and having addictive tendencies and being able to harness addictive tendencies into something as violent as and to be able to apply those to a sport versus just being, well, I'm a well-adjusted human being with no addictive tendencies, not a lot of trauma. I'm gonna fight you. Oh no, I'm a fucking beast that grew up in a fight, and like Mike Tyson, that grew up like I don't even understand if he grew up inside or outside, dealt with fucking ignited torments, drug addictions, violence, and I will kill. And I guess that's always interesting to look at how well-adjusted people do versus people that have real trauma when it gets fucking brutal.
I think there's some real value to being out of your fucking mind. I really do. And I think some of the greatest artists, some of the greatest athletes, some of the greatest accomplishments were achieved by people that were out of their fucking mind and just had pushed it to a level and into an area that other people weren't willing to go. And that's how they became the best of the best. And you don't get to be a Michael Jordan unless you're out of your fucking mind.
Or maybe an Elon Musk. I don't know. I don't know if
Right. Yeah. Similar.